welcome everyone. I am Radiance from Lighthouse Effects. We are here in the really beautiful, gorgeous, brand new studio, which is called Silver Birch. And we are here in Fort Wayne, Indiana. On behalf of the channel Spirituality Gone Wild, I would like to welcome you to Lighthouse Effects, the show. The show is all about musicians and how we're helping to resource musicians and really get us into this place of building a bigger community that reaches out into our fans, helps to bring resources, practices, and community building ideas together. So that's what we're all about here at this campus, and really the team of people who come from this space, that's what we're all learning to nurture with one another. How do we do that? We show up with emotional health, or sometimes we show up with emotional mess. That could be really big. So, what are the little pieces that we're bringing in? I say that term a lot, little pieces that connect us back into our hearts. This week, we were practicing this whole aspect of being able to get into our heart space, and especially around the messiness and the fear. And today's show, we're going to focus on the exit strategy. Let me say it up there. When your body is telling you to run, that's what running looks like. Maybe it's like, maybe it's that. Maybe you were a track and field star and you're like, I know how to bolt. I know how to get out of relationships. Right? There's that fear factor, that division, the part where like everything gets annihilated, right? When we get into this place of fear and protection. And there's casualties laying around sometimes. Like, oops, did I just do that? So as we're entering these spaces, how are we entering it with tenderness? I have a little story about that. This week, Steve and our son just turned 16, and his sister downloaded a video game for him. And so you put this video game on and you step out in the video game. This is the goggles, right? That's what it felt like right there. So it's these goggles, and you step out and you're on a plank, and you're like, I don't know, I don't even remember, like 30 stories up or something, and you step out on this little ledge, and our group had like an actual plank that we were working on. And so I'm trying to tell my body, walk, right? I'm like, it's just, you're walking on a piece of wood on the floor. You're okay. You're not however many stories up, 30 stories up. And my brain was like, I'm 30 stories up and we're not walking. So it's like, come on, So I could feel it in my stomach, right? My brain knew, and parts of my body knew. My feet were like, let's just go for it. And the rest of my body was like, no. And sometimes that's us in relationships, working against other pieces of ourselves, this exit strategy. And so I really wanted to run. I really wanted to like take off the goggles, and I really wanted to get back in this elevator, and I really wanted to press all kinds of other buttons to get me out of there because it was so uncomfortable. And so instead, I had to talk to my brain and have a very big conversation with my brain. And luckily, I've practiced this a lot, and I speak into this quite often. We have less than a fifth of a second before our reaction kicks in, right? Before that, before all of those things start like, ah! It's not including if you're intoxicated on any level. So slowing down into this place of the free fall, not having the answers, being uncomfortable, being in the space of, whoa, what the heck's going on, right? And I'm sensing that many people are in the free fall right now. Not quite sure like how to maneuver here. Got a whole group of people who are like, let's go! And another group of people are like, what the heck just happened? And then how does that reflect within ourselves? Weaving this back into the conversations of musicians. I'm just going to read this one, because I always pick out 2 songs per show. So this is Free Fallin', Tom Petty. Love this song. She's a good girl. She loves her mama, loves Jesus and America too. She's a good girl, crazy about Elvis, loves horses and her boyfriend too. Oh. And it's a long day living in Reseda. There's a freeway running through the yard. And I'm a bad boy because I don't even miss her. I'm a bad boy for breaking her heart. Now I'm free fallin'. Yeah, I'm free fallin'. All the vampires walking through the valley move west down Ventura Boulevard. And all the bad boys are standing in the shadows, and all the good girls are home with broken hearts. And I'm free fallin'. Yeah, I'm free fallin'. I want to glide down over Mulholland. I want to write her name in the sky. I want to free fall out into nothing. Gonna leave this world for a while. And then they repeat, yeah, I'm free fallin'. Free fallin'. So often people enter relationships and they get to this place and there's a wall, a really big wall. For artists, sometimes those are the moments that we pick up a pencil and start writing or type things in. For other artists, sometimes it's sketches, taking a photograph of a moment. But there's a deep stillness that can happen as well. And so often our lives are filled with all of these distractions these days, right? Like, I can't even count the amount of times that I'm like, I could turn around and talk to other people in line, but why should I? I should just go back into this thing for an extensive period of time. Maybe reformulating as a new way to start communicating with one another beyond devices, the division cord, the exit strategies. I know for me, some of my early leanings taught me that reaching out wasn't going to be safe. So I needed to figure out how to do an internal journey or how to just like stay occupied on other things. And this distraction, especially distraction that can lead to drama, right? Like, what are some big drama things that we can bring in right now so that all of my attention can go to that drama? Instead of the oxygen and the breath. So just coming back into the body for a few minutes and welcoming this place of, wow, this is pretty messy. Matt Kahn is I really love listening to Matt Kahn. He has some pretty funny speeches that he talks about, monologues. One of them was about being the jerk, being okay with being the jerk. If that's always your role, sometimes it's good to pick other roles, right? Like Shakespeare talks about, all the world's a stage. But what roles have you picked? And is it something that you're actually wanting to play? Is it the cheater? Is it the deceiver? Is it the goody two-shoes? Is it the drunk? The liar? The inquisitor? The teenager? I do that one a lot. The rebel. what more is there that can be offered? And then breaking those down into pieces of a capsule. How many of those personalities show up in one lifetime, in one person? So this weekend, I got to learn all about tech and being a tech support person. Now, generally online, I am very, like, if I'm picking up the phone, I'm like, I am just all about, I'm so grateful that you are here helping me through this entire experience because, oh my goodness. And I'm pretty generally in that area when I'm talking to a tech support person because I get how it must be to have to walk me through tech support. So this weekend I got to do tech support. I got to be the tech support person. And I was asked, I was asked to come in and do that. And I'm like, I don't know. I'm not really a tech support person. I don't think that's me. But I was also in this place of, woo, let's try something new for a weekend. So I gave a full 100% yes. Wow, that sounds thrilling. And I was right. It was thrilling. Not in the direction that I was expecting thrill, but it was still a thrilling way to show up in life this weekend. So as I'm getting ready, and I was given a specific set of instructions, to be clear, and those instructions were, hey, all you got to do is show up. The room's already set up. All you got to do is just be there, open up the room, and be your joyful self. You're really good at that. Just do that. So I'm like, okay, well, I am gifted at that. So that should be no problem whatsoever. And instead of staying with that, I went with my version, which was far more dramatic. And it was a big festival this weekend, a big online festival. So I went into the room and I set it up according to like what would make sense for me. Now, mind you, nobody asked me to do that. And I went in and I went ahead and like got all of the numbers to line up accordingly. And it looked very aligned and orderly. And I was very proud of myself. And so the next morning, the head person from helping to run the whole organization online called me and they were like, what happened between last night and this morning? And I'm like, I don't know. I don't know what you're talking about. Because I saw this other set of numbers come up and I was like, okay, it feels like I probably shouldn't touch that set of numbers. Anyway, it turns out that I realigned it incorrectly and that the whole festival, all of the codes that went out to all of the participants throughout the world were wrong. And so I got to visit like this deep, deep place of shame. I was like, nah, just for a few minutes here and there. But for the first time, this shame space, this like, it's so uncomfortable. I love doing things where people are like, oh, you're just amazing, right? Praise is wonderful. And that whole thing of, nah, you screwed it up, like that doesn't feel so good. I could, like, my body felt all that tension, that constriction. I can feel like all the tears coming in my eyes. So there's this part of us, me, that really wants to do things really, really well and be adored and cherished and loved. And then there's another part of me that's like, you're going to screw that up sometimes. And it's going to be big. And how are you going to show up in the big mess that is life? How do you show up there? What is your vibrancy there? Do you show up with the self-deprecation, like, nah, right? Or do you show up like, meh, that was terrible? So I went back through and I started to trace. There's this internal, like the internal traffic. Where are all the spotlights or all the traffic lights? Where's everything on red and getting backed up? So I go through and I'm like tracking. I'm like, sixth grade, Mr. Engelbretson. I had this terrible, oh my goodness, this just, maybe it wasn't terrible. I won't label him. He was terrible. He was a terrible human. Just ask my sixth grader. Terrible human. Whatever was disturbing for Mr. Engelbretson, life must have been extremely and extraordinarily challenging for that human. So I remember really wanting to pass my history class, really wanting to. And I would go home and I'm like, I don't even remember, right? I think it was social studies at that point. I don't even remember, but I remember like trying to grab random concepts of what I was going to be tested on. And then he would hold up the paper in front of everybody and be like, and you got an F. How's that feel? And then everybody, right? I was sitting at the back of the class, like my glasses are all askew. And I'm like, I can't even read anymore. And then I'd get the paper and I'd be shaking. And I'm like, I really wanted to do things right. How often have you wanted that? Right? Want to get it so right and just get it so wrong. So the rest of the festival that day, it was fantastic because at every single junction that I showed up in order to run the tech for the rest of the day, every room that I entered, it was me getting to revisit this place of shame and humiliation. And the longer that I got to practice it, the easier it became. I was just like, yep, that was me. I was the jerk. That was me. And by the end of it, I wasn't even saying that I was the jerk. I was just like, yeah, that was me. And I'm sensing that society is going through another, that was me. Some of them are like, running the other direction. Sixth grade, getting the piece of paper, that was me, that was me. And I'm also sensing that by the end of this year, we're all going to be saying that was me. Stepping up to the plate in a dignified way. In the totality of that trepidation. And all of the areas that there's like a gentle nudge or a full-on push from your angel. You're like, oh my gosh. Face plant. So in that free fall, just as you're being tripped and about to hit your face into the floorboards, getting back into like a recentering area. So instead of having an exit strategy, what is your jump in strategy? What is your free fall strategy back into this planet and humanity? Not our division story. Once people are allowed to kind of be out and beyond the inoculation phase, sitting down, buying people some type of a drink, a really heavy drink for some people. Something like tea, maybe a cup of coffee for a stranger. Something that's rainforest protected, of course. What is compelling you to come back to humanity? And for some people, they're like, there's nothing. I am perfectly okay with never seeing humanity again. And there is that stillness there. One of the words that I learned about the concepts this weekend was unhooking, right? Getting in on the hook. I don't know if I just smeared my makeup everywhere, but getting in on that hook. And then how do you take yourself off the hook and just settle in? How do we become okay with people being unresourced and calm our own spirits to show up in a welcoming manner? It's the next big shift that maybe it's not even a big shift anymore. Maybe it's just expanding my perception. I would welcome that. So I've been talking and crying a lot this weekend. A lot of processing. So that is going to bring the program to an almost close tonight. And I'm really grateful to be here with you. And as always, please drop your information in and any questions that you might have. And what is your journey looking like? And what songs are you including in your life playlist? I'm interested in that. I was listening to the song, I think it's by Ian Moore. Don't quote me though, because I wasn't able to find it, so I don't know about that one. And here are the lyrics. I'm not even certain of what the name of the song is. I'm guessing maybe it is Battle Lines, but again, don't quote me. Ian Moore, Ianmoore. And I found this on his Twitter page. I wasn't aware of him previous to this weekend. Really, really phenomenal guitar player. If we are two of a kind, won't you take the envy away from your eyes? I don't understand why we always take sides on these battle lines. When I opened the door and I let in the breeze, and it spoke to me still of the heart and its cost. And I tried to appeal, my intentions were clean. But as I was speaking, I knew I had lost. For the moments are fleeting when the smiles cast your way, and the air comes alive with the sounds of the day. And I didn't understand why we always take sides on these battle lines. So lend me a ride if you're heading back east. I got family to give me room and a bed. I got people that see me in a favorable light, look past my transgressions and wish me success. It's the foolish among us who thinks he's immune to life's bloody patches, so I try to abide. Took all of the things that I'd written in my own dark design. So if we are two of a kind, could you try to forgive me? Don't think me unkind. I didn't understand why we always took sides on these battle lines. My encouragement this week and my invitation is the welcoming home. All of us have traveled all of these many roads to get here. And what does home look like? What does nourishment look like? I grew up in the country, and we did have an old screen door that would crinkle. I don't think crinkle is the right word. Squeak, crack, rah, that sound. And I actually like the sound of old screen doors. And I like open doors. So how do we stop running full sprint? Or at least make it super amplified and funny in your brain. If you're noticing that, man, I want to get out of here. Give your brain like a good 30 seconds of just imagining the best sprint possible. And then when you open your eyes and you're coming back, what does that stillness look like in your heart space? I know that sometimes there's discomfort. But I promise you, the more that you stick around, the messier it gets. And hopefully you're able to cultivate a fun group of people who celebrate the mess with you so that you can show up more vibrantly, because you deserve that. So much love to each of you. I want to say thank you to Jesus, who is here helping to run cameras tonight. And thank you to Steve as well for running cameras here at Silver Birch Studios. If you're a musician, find us here at Silver Birch Studios. We're on Facebook. And Lighthouse Effects. If you're a musician who's interested in reaching further and being able to leave a legendary impact for your fans and for yourself. And then finally, I want to say good night and thanks again to Spirituality Gone Wild. We have a channel. There are many, many broadcasters from the Spirituality Gone Wild channel, and they are so much fun. Wow. At least 2 times a day, you can find a great show. So thanks again, everybody. I'll see you next Sunday. Welcome home to you.
Are we clear?